Hello ukulele learners and grade fives. Welcome to our second little virtual lesson here. So last or second, or is this the third? This might be the third. Our so last week we continued on with some chords, right? C, F, and G. And we did In the Jungle, right? If you didn't cover those videos and this is your first time watching one of these, please do take some time, go back, do those ones first and kind of work your way up to this one. You don't have to get through all of my videos by the end of the year. This is just to keep you, doing something at home, getting engaged in music. So today, what we're going to actually do is we're going to shift away from the chord stuff, and we're going to actually work on picking and playing individual notes and actually reading a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to tune your ukuleles. You can go to ukutuner.com, I think, ukutuner.com, and you can look at the other videos that I've done and it'll show you how to go through that. Make sure your ukulele's in tune. I already did mine before this, so I'm gonna go over that. So if you haven't tuned your ukulele, pause the video, get that done first. So, a little music theory. So when we play music, we either have single pitches, or like one note, like that, or we have chords, which is when we play a whole bunch of notes together, right? And you can't just play any notes, because you're gonna get like, you have to play specific notes to make a nice sounding chord. And we're gonna learn how to play melody today. We're gonna start really simple, and then we're gonna gradually kind of make it a little more difficult, but you're going to learn all the notes that you need to actually play the melody for In the Jungle. So if you have a partner who plays the chords, then someone else can do right. We'll get to that later. That's way further down the road though. First thing we're going to talk about is how we actually read music. Now, grade fives, you guys are already masters of rhythm reading. You guys can handle all the tas and TTs all day. You guys are really good at that, and it's awesome. Now, the different notes, that's where we haven't really done as much time, right? So, the way we recognize rhythm and like how the time of music is divided up is based on the shape of the note, right? Whether it's a quarter note or a ta, and or an eighth note is a T, T, right? Or half notes and whole notes. Ooh, my camera keeps going out of focus. In any case, when it comes to figuring out what note to play, it's dependent on where the note is, not what shape it is, right? So regardless of where a note is, if it's a whole note, right, which is 4 beats long, that tells you how long it is, and where the note is tells us which sound specifically to make. So in the case of how we figure that out is we have a thing in music we refer to as the staff. And you've probably seen music written down at some point, and it's written on these 5 lines that are evenly spaced apart. And where we place notes on the staff is going to tell us how high or low the pitch should be. So if it's a note way up high on the staff, it's going to be a really high note. And if it's way low, it's going to play a much lower sound. Sorry, my camera keeps refocusing. So when it's down here, we get low notes, and when it's up here, we get really high notes. Okay. Now this next thing, this is a symbol you will see at the beginning of music. It looks like this kind of crazy loopy thing, and it's called a treble clef. And that's not super important for you guys right now. All it really means is there's different types of clefs, And what the clefs mean, they change what the lines and spaces on the staff actually mean. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn one note. One simple note, and we're going to figure out how to play it on the ukulele. So we are going to learn do. We're going to learn a C. I'm going to refer to them interchangeably. Do and C, they mean the same thing. And oof, I need a new marker, big time. And a C is located actually one line below the staff. Now, notes can go on lines like that, right? So it's sitting on the line. They can go, oops, stay on my magnet. They can go between the lines, and that would mean a lower note than this one, because this is below it, right? It's a lower position, right? So they can go either or. They can go on the line or between the line. They can't be like half and half. It's got to be one or the other, right? So we're going to start by just doing some C's, which is the lowest note on the ukulele, okay? Now, you guys are playing with a high G string, so there's going to be a little confusion there, but we'll get to that later. So the lowest note you can play on the ukulele is the second, for holding it properly, it's the string that's second closest to your chin. So it's the big fat string. It's the second one. Should sound like that. Do. Okay. Now, if you've tuned your ukulele, maybe make sure that that string, the second one, is making that same noise as me. And if it's not, then maybe you need to retune your ukulele. So we're going to use quarter notes right now for the moment. These are going to be tas, okay? And so all we need to do to play C is just the open string. No fingers needed, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to just play this, and that's it. I'm going to count to 4, and you're going to plunk me 4 C's or 4 do's. Ready? So that's all with that one string. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all there is to it. That's the first note. That's a C. Okay. Now, when we figure out notes, right, in music, we use letters to indicate them, which kind of can get confusing for some people, but it is what they do. So we only use the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. That's it. There's no H, there's no Q, or W, just A to G. And if I am playing and I get to the end, I get to G, then it just starts over from A again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And it just keeps repeating, whatever, right? So it goes by line, space, right? So I'm going to give you a little example here, right? So that guy, in the moment, the first line is an E. The next space is an F. The next line is G. The next line is A, right? Like E, F, G. That's going in the alphabet, right? If I go from A, then it goes to, the next line is B. The next space is C. The next line is D. So the higher up you go, the further into the alphabet you get, right? Now that's a little more than we need to get into right now. So we're gonna rewind a bit. So our C is anytime you see a note that sits on that line just below the staff, that is a C, okay? And anytime you see that when we're playing the ukulele, it means that specific string, no finger, okay? So then we're gonna switch this up, and we're gonna add our next note. We're gonna add D. Oh my. or re. Right? Now those of you who remember solfege, you remember do, re. Okay? Now re, D is the first space right below the staff. Okay? So that's going to be D. Any note that falls just under that line, that's going to be D or re. Okay? So just try for a sec. I want you to go just play some. And so to play, I should show you how to do that. Using your, whenever we play any note, when we're doing melodies, okay, when we're doing chords, it's a little different, but when we're playing melodies, all the time, anytime we have to play something in the first fret, whether it's this string, or this string, we always use our pointer finger. If it's on the second fret, we use our middle finger. Third fret, ring finger, and fourth fret is pinky. Okay? So a D in this case is going to be on that same string as the C, except we're going to use our middle finger, so that's going to be on second fret. Try that out. Go do, re, do, and just go back and forth. Right? And make sure your thumb's on the back of the neck, right? So you have some leverage. It should be looking like you're pinching it, right? And try not to keep your ukulele sideways like that. It's going to ruin your wrist. It's really hard to play like that. It's a lot easier if you actually tilt it up, because then you can actually turn your hand, right? And so you got your middle finger on the second fret. Okay, see that? Okay. Do, 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 re, re, re. Okay. So I'm just a little tester here. Okay. I'm gonna play a bar. Okay. I'm gonna play 4 quarter notes, only using do and re. And you are going to repeat back to me using your ears to try and see if you can emulate what I play, okay? So I'm going to start with just do, and you got to try and do the same rhythm too, okay? It's all quarter notes though, okay? So I'm going to start on do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, 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 do. 2, 3, 4. Do, do, re, re. Do, re, re, do. Do, 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 re. Re, do, re, do. Okay, so if I want to write some of these down in the music, all I have to do is make sure I'm using the right rhythm. In this case, I'm using quarter notes, which technically should have a stem on them, but I'm not going to write that in right now just because I have to move these little notes around. So we're going to pretend these are all quarter notes at all times. And when I want to write them in, I just have to put the note head, the circle part, on the right place. Okay. So let's say I want to make do, do, re, re. Well, do, being C, is going to be on the line. And I have do, do, so I have 2 of them on the line. Re, re. So, oopsie daisy. Those 2, you can see, are a little bit higher than these other guys, right? So that is going to be, okay. Let's say I want to do do, re, then I'm going to make, we have do already, then re is on the space, do is back on the line, right? Do, re, okay? And then we're going to try and add a new note in this situation, all right? So we have C, or do, we have re, which is D, and now we're going to do mi, which is an E. Okay? Now, if you recall how to tune your ukulele, you know that the 3rd string is an E. So that is our mi. So between C, D, and E, only one of them actually requires us to actually push down a fret on our ukulele. But C and E are both open strings, okay? So we have C, which is the second string, D, which was the second fret on the same string, and then E is the third string, okay? Okay. So I want you to try and play me 4 me's. So that's going to be on the E string. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Me, 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 me. Okay. Now that's pretty straightforward. Now we're going to try a little experiment here. Okay. Now this is going to be the wrong rhythm on the board here, but what we're going to do is we're going to do this. Okay. So I've got C, or Do, and then I've got Re, or D, and we've got Mi, or E, and then back down to C. Now if I were to actually play what's written on the board, that would sound Do, Re, Mi, Do, oops, Do, Re, Mi, Do. If you're really keen that when you're playing all this stuff, say the solfege and sing it while you play it, that'll be a real challenge for some of you. And what we're going to do is, even though these are quarter notes, we're going to pretend that each of these represents 4 quarter notes. Okay? So I want 4 tas of C, 4 tas of D, 4 tas of E, and then 4 tas of C again. Does that make sense? I guess you can't answer because this is a video. So each note, we're gonna do a whole bar for each one of these, okay? So we'll start with C. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, 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 then to D. Re, 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 re. Mi, 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 mi. Do, 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 do. Okay. We're going to try that same thing that I did before with the do's and re's, and you have to mimic me. Except this time I'm going to start with just do and re, and then at some point I'm going to add mi in. Okay? And then you got to try and mimic and get all 3 of the notes using your ears. Okay? So I'll start off real simple. So I play 4 notes and you got to try and play it back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, do, re, re. Do, re, do, do. Do, re, mi, mi. Do, re, mi, re. Do, mi, do, do. Do, mi, mi, do. Do, re, mi, do. Okay, now, if you're having trouble keeping up, that's okay. Just focus on just playing, just plucking, getting used to those, remembering where your fingers are supposed to be for each one, right? And if you really want to be a keener, okay, real goal is whenever you're playing music and you're reading, don't look at your hands. You got to look at the music. Try and build up that memory to be able to put your fingers where you need to go without looking. It's really hard. You can do it. Okay? So, we are going to add 1 more note. We're going to actually skip 1, but we're going to add, we might add the 4th note, but we're going to try and do the 5th note. Okay? So this line is C, and we've got D, and we've got E, and we're going to jump up to the 2nd line, and we're going to learn G. Okay? So G is going to be way up here on the second line. Okay? Now we have a high G string, so this is going to be a little confusing, but we're not going to use that. So for us to play the G note, right? So we've got C, then D, then E, and G is going to be on that same string as the E. It's on the E string, and we're going to walk our fingers up to the ring finger on the 3rd fret. That's our G. So we use our middle finger for D's and our ring finger on the next string up for G. So we have do, do, re, mi, so, do, re, mi, so, mi, re, do. Okay? So we're going to try a little experiment. We're going to do exactly like we did before. We're going to start on a C. We're going to do a whole bar of C's, then a whole bar of D's, then a whole bar of E's, and then we're going to end with a bar of G's, like that. So do, do, oops, do, 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 re, 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 mi, 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 so, 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 so. And G is so, okay, in solfege. Okay. For you parents who are not familiar with solfege, I apologize. The kids probably know what I'm talking about, and I apologize if you're confused. So we're going to start here. Like I said, we do 4 of this one, 4 of this one, 4 of this one, and then 4 of that one. So remember, D is on the 2nd fret on the C string, and the G is 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the 3rd string. Okay, G is number 3, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 3rd string. All right, let's try this out. Starting on the C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, 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 re, 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 mi, 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 so, 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 so. Okay, so then we've got our 4 notes. Now, I have a little homework assignment for you. Okay? With those 4 notes, you can play Mary Had a Little Lamb. I want you to see if you can try and figure it out on your own, okay? I want you to pause the video, okay, and see if you can try and figure out how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb just using C, D, E, and G. I will play it. I'm going to turn around so you can't see my fingers, but you can, using only those 3 notes. Okay, you only need C, D, E, and G to play that, right? So, pause the video, see if you can figure it out. And we're back. I'll give you, in case you were having trouble, I'll give you a hint. The first note, it starts on an E. Okay? And trying to figure out how a melody goes and trying to figure out what note goes, you got to listen to whether a note's going lower or higher than the last one. That's how we figure out what note comes next, right? Mary. So, da da, Mary. That's higher to lower. So if the first note's an E, then the next note has to be lower on the staff than the previous one. Okay? So that's a little tip in trying to figure out what note goes where. So see if you can figure out how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on your own. Okay? And I will play it once just here so you can see in case you want a little cheater. But it starts on the E. Mi, re, do, re, mi, 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 re, 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 mi, so, so, mi, re, do, re, mi, 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 re, mi, re, do, do. And the last note that we're going to do is the one we skipped, which is called an F. Because C, D, E, F, G. Right? It goes up through the alphabet. I'm going to draw this one in though. Okay. Now F is the only note that we're going to use that uses our pointer finger. And that's on the first fret of the E string, right? So we have C, D, E, F, G. Now the reason F is a little more complicated is because when we play G, you should actually have your pointer and middle fingers back here on the frets. Because when you go to play the next note, you don't want to take your fingers off between the notes. You want your, see my pointer finger is already in the right spot when I go from G to F. So when I'm playing a G, I'm actually putting two fingers down. This finger doesn't actually make any difference in the sound, but it makes it so that when I remove, if I want to play going to a lower note from G, my finger's already in the right spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and play 4 beats for each note all the way up to the G, and then we'll go back down again. So we go C, 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 D, 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 E, 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 F, 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 G, 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 F, 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 E, 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 D, 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 C, 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 D. Okay? So starting from Do on the C, 4 for each one. 1, 2, oh sorry, quick reminder, like I said, the F is on the first fret, so pointer finger on the E string, okay, between E and G. Okay, starting on C for Do, 1, 2, 3, 4, Do, 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 Re, 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 Mi, 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 Fa, that's F, 3, to G, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, E, 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 Re, 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 Do, 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 Do. Sorry, I keep going between letters and solfege, but those of you who've heard of Sound of Music will know what I'm talking about, but it's, we go Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. It's just a word that we can use when we're singing, right, to remember our pitch. And so if you have these 5 notes, that's all you need to be able to play in the jungle. So if you want a real challenge, you could try and figure that out, right? Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Mi, Re, Do, Re, Mi, Re, So, Fa, So, Mi, Re, Fa, So, Fa, Mi, Re, Do, Mi, Re. So that's a little challenge for you. And I want you to try a little experiment. So like if you want to practice ukulele every day, okay, here's a little exercise, okay? It's kind of, well, one is the spider climb, which is where you start and you put your finger in your playing position and you do this. You kind of just, you start on an open and then you go every single fret and then you go to the next open string. I'm getting used to. The notes on your instrument. And for this, we do like a little climbing exercise where we do hills, okay? So we start, you do just the first 2, and you go back down, then you do all the way up to the 3rd note and back down, then up to the 4th note, and all the way to the 5th note, okay? So it kind of goes like Do, Re, Do, pause. Do, Re, Mi, Re, Do, pause. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Mi, Re, Do, pause. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. Right? So that's a little exercise you can try at home, is just going from the 1 to the next, then all the way up to there, then to the F, then to the G, and see how if you can do that at a faster tempo, right? Do, re, do, re, mi, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do, and get used to moving your fingers faster, okay? And do take some time, go back, try that in the jungle video, see if you can do it with the singing as well, okay? And if you have any questions or you're totally confused by this, give me a call, send me a message, send me an email, rlarden@sd91.bc.ca, or you can call my cell phone at 250-882-8219. I miss you guys dearly. I hope you guys are not having too much trouble with the ukulele tuning, and if you really, really are, you guys can contact me. We can set up a thing where you can come into NVSS and do a quick meeting up at front, and maybe I can come meet you and I can help you get the ukulele tuned and answer some questions if you really need to. In any case, I miss you guys. Stay safe, and I will see you next week.